And tonight on the Daily Wrap, Donald Trump makes it official and turns the GOP race upside down. Rick Unger heads to Trump Tower to talk to Americans about the Donald's chances. Rachel Dolezal, she's white, she's black, she's back, and defending herself in craptastically entertaining fashion. And Prince plays the White House over the weekend. You'll never guess who paid for it. Really, you'll never guess. We'll discuss all of that, plus potluck and yay and nay. This is the Daily Wrap, live from Manhattan. And welcome to the show, everybody. Joining me, of course, is my co-host, Rick Unger of Forbes and Sirius, and now the Man on the Street Interviewer of the Year.
Yeah, you think?
Well, you've been
You
getting a
have
lot of
my
work.
Emmy hiding under there, or what?
your SB, your Emmy. How did that go? Quickly.
How did it go? Well, you're going to see how it went.
Okay.
I'm not going to give it away.
That is a tease, as we call it in the business, everybody. Also joining us, America's pundit and Philly attorney. She is Heather Hansen, wearing a very neutral color tonight. And finally, the editor of thewisdomdaily.com, Brad Hirschfield, is back again. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here.
All right, let's get right to the Daily Download.
I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
You know, that suit looks very familiar. I can't put my finger on it. Anyway, bombastic millionaire Donald Trump becomes the 12th Republican, to join the 2016 race for the White House. And while 11 others beat him to the punch, there's no denying his announcement was quite possibly the greatest presidential campaign launch in history.
I would repeal and replace the big lie Obamacare. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. And I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
Well, Trump never fails to disappoint when it comes to stagecraft. Are voters going to buy what he is selling? Now, before I come to you, Hirschfield, okay? Yeah. There will be an inclination here to just mock and laugh and say he has no chance. Yeah, so I thought there's two ways I could go with this. Do we seriously look at some of the things he said today and all the contradictions? In other words, he is a serious candidate in this sense. He will completely disrupt what could be one of the more interesting GOP fields that we've seen in our lifetime. I mean, in terms of the candidates, I mean, it is impressive. So, all right, here's my question. Will he disrupt this race to the point where it will hurt whoever eventually gets the nomination?
No, I don't think so. Look, he stood up there and said, I am very rich.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think analyzing any that, I think he will do one thing. We haven't had a candidate who refers to himself in the third person this much since Bob Dole. Now, the truth is, it didn't work out so good for Bob Dole. Now, I don't think this is going to be...
Bob Dole got the nomination?
It is true he did, but I think that was the last place they were actually comparable to each other. Now, look, I don't think it's going to disrupt anything. I think it'll be in the headlines. He'll probably get a little bit of a tick upward. He will make the cut and make the debates. That's almost certainly the case. But beyond that, no, I don't think it's going to be a big deal.
So you're not taking him, Heather Hansen, seriously as a candidate?
I am not, but I do take some of the things he says seriously. I think the fact that he says I'm very rich, you've got all the other candidates trying to use hyperbole about how poor they are and where they came from and how they built their way up. And he's just saying, look, I'm successful. I have done very, very well. He points out the fact that there are 25 countries who are doing better than us on education. If you fact check that, it is correct. He talks about Obamacare in 2016, which I think is something that not enough of the candidates are talking about. So I think he adds to the discussion in a way that could be helpful.
Okay, now you had a rule once on this show, Unger, saying you will never talk about Donald Trump, and now you have to. It's our lead story.
But I've got my first headline.
Okay.
You're all crap, and I'm not. Because that's what his speech was today. He went through everybody on the political scene, called them the biggest dope ever, but said he's awesome. So you know what? Listen, we don't look early Christmas presents in the eye. It's the best thing that could have happened to the media. Let's be honest. It's going to be lots of fun to play with the Donald.
Well, I tweeted this out today, and I sincerely mean this, and I say this to God. I'm going to speak to God right now. God, please somehow put Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders on the same stage. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I never thought I would say this. That's actually an insult to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And it takes a lot for me to say that, but because at least one of them is serious. Maybe wrong, but he's serious. I think the other is a stage show. I get it, all of politics is a stage show, but this doesn't, it just doesn't rise to the level
Let's
of
talk
seriousness.
logistics real quick. Okay, so if he makes the top 10, he gets to be in that first debate hosted by Fox in prime time. And now that's 10 candidates and not a lot of time. He will be limited to 1 minute for a response. I don't think it is physically possible for him to do it.
No, I agree. He won't get anything of any consequence out in 1 minute. He hasn't even filed papers, though. Let's be clear. He's got 30 days in which to do so, but he has not yet done so. So this could still be.
He did already, however, we should note, break a record among people announcing for president. What record do you think that was? He spoke the longest of anybody's announcement ever.
Oh, that was the longest announcement?
Yeah,
wow.
An hour and 15 minutes.
But didn't seem as long as some of the others because it was so fascinating. I thought it was. I could have watched forever.
So let's go back to your generation in terms of music.
How do you mean my generation?
Neil,
exactly what are you trying to say?
I'm willing to bet that you were a Neil Young fan growing up as a young uncle.
Actually, not really.
Okay.
He had a couple songs I liked, but I thought most of them were incredibly pedestrian. But that's another story.
Rockin' in the Free World?
That was a good one.
Okay, so Neil Young has denounced
Yes,
Donald using that music. I believe he's Canadian,
He's
though.
Canadian, born in Toronto, Manitoba. He's lived in California and
But he
Lahonda for a
owns
lot of
one
years.
trains, and
So
that's
anyway,
pretty cool.
we'll have to move on, unfortunately. Anyway, so Neil Young says, don't use it anymore, I'm supporting Bernie Sanders. What a shock. Well, anyway, our own Rick Unger went to the streets to see what New Yorkers think about their native son, Donald Trump.
So tell us your name.
Ivy,
Ivy, where are you from?
New York City.
In New York City. Now, as you may or may not know, just minutes ago, in the building right behind us, Donald Trump announced that he will be a candidate for the Republican nominee for president.
Did everyone laugh?
Hi, my name is Sana Lotfi.
Sana?
Correct.
So how long have you been a supporter of Mr. Trump?
Ever since The Apprentice.
Is it-
Show.
It was the show that got you interested in him?
It shows that he can have humility in front of the public.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that.
All right, tell us your name.
Larry Taylor,
Larry, where are you from?
Morganton, North Carolina.
One of the things that Mr. Trump is not known for is his modesty. We can probably all agree on that. How does that play when you get down into the southern states where people have a tendency to be a bit more polite?
I think he's got an attitude. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's going to tell you like it is. And I think that's North Carolina. That's what we're looking for. Somebody to tell you like it is and not beat around the bush.
So you guys obviously were inside the Trump announcement.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were.
Tell me what it is that you found interesting about his speech.
You know, I felt that, you know, he was unconventional. He was different than what we typically see in a politician. But I liked his brutal honesty.
Tell us your name.
Bob Landrigan,
And where are you from, Bob?
Madison, New Jersey.
So, you know, just moments ago, Donald Trump announced that he'll be a candidate for president. He did so here in Trump Tower right behind us. Wondering what you think about that.
I think the average American is tired of the politically correct, let's hold back, let's not insult anybody type president.
So tell us your name.
Martin Hastings.
Martin, where are you from?
I'm originally from Manhattan.
So you are a union official.
Absolutely.
And yet you are supporting Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Labor cannot exist without capital.
But would you consider Mr. Trump to be a union supporter?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He honors his contracts to the letter. He respects unions because that's where talent comes from.
Hank Sheinkoff, Democratic advisor, consultant extraordinaire. Did you get to listen to the speech?
You know what? It's extraordinary. Donald Trump runs, he makes everybody nuts. He makes everybody crazy, shakes the world up. And remember, when you have a vacancy for any job, any political job, the insurgent tends to do very well.
He's totally not a populist. He's a rich man's guy, and that's the end of it. He doesn't know anything about the common people. Nothing.
I think Hank used the perfect word, insurgent.
Yeah.
That's what he is. Now, that said, were you surprised that there were as many serious supporters there
Well,
than you
to
met?
be fair, we were out front of Trump Tower as people were coming out of the announcement.
I get it, but some might have been there to see the circus, I would think.
Yeah, some were outside, but most people were coming out. But, you know, we did hang around for a while so we could try and get some others, and I have to tell you, I was surprised.
Interesting.
There was a lot of support for him.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see how this goes and how it ends, more importantly. It could be horrifying or it could be tremendous. Who knows? Either way, we'll be entertained. Anyway, Rachel Dolezal finally breaks her silence. What did you have to say about pretending to be black? Keep it right there.
Are you an African-American woman?
I identify as black.
Welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha, along with my co-host, Rick Unger, Heather Hansen, Brad Hirschfield, all Caucasian as far as we can tell. That was former Spokane, Washington NAACP President Rachel Dolezal, who finally broke her silence today amid a national firestorm about race and identity. She's come under sharp criticism after it was revealed by her white parents that she's been lying about her race. But Dolezal told the Today Show she hasn't been trying to deceive anyone and responded to social media comments that she darkens her skin.
This is not some free birth of a nation mockery blackface performance. This is on a very real, connected level. How I've actually had to go there with the experience, not just a visible representation, but with the experience.
Dolezal said she began identifying herself as black at a young age.
I would say about 5 years old.
You began identifying yourself as African American?
I was drawing self-portraits with the brown crayon instead of the peach crayon, and the black, black curly hair, and yeah, that was how I was portraying myself.
But her father, Larry Dolezal, says that's a lie too, and he's telling everybody about it, including TMZ, that he never saw his daughter using brown crayons instead of peach. Yes, we're talking about this on national television. Did this interview help explain what's behind Rachel Dolezal, or did it just raise more questions, Heather Hansen?
I don't care. So to me, it didn't raise more questions. It didn't explain anything. I mean, listen, I read I think in the Daily Mail today that her brother wrote a memoir, and there's a lot of stuff that went on in that house, in the house that they grew up in, that would lend itself to perhaps some confusion. So I think that, I think she has some problems. And I think my issue with her is that she is promoting hate by saying that people do things, hate crimes. She alleged hate crimes 8 different times. None of them went out to be true. She also had said when she was at Howard that she'd been discriminated against. I think that
discriminated against as a black person or
a
a white
person at that time.
Oh.
So she clearly has some issues, but the problem that she's now spreading them around and sort of disseminating the idea that the races have to be in conflict at all times is my problem with her. Her problems are hers.
Your issue, and I'm totally on board with you on this, revolves around the parents.
Yeah,
and the fact that they're throwing her under the bus and we can't seem to get rid of them. It's like the Duggars went away and now these people have come about and I can't escape.
That's exactly right. I got to tell you, I'm with Heather. I so don't care about this. She is one person. She should do what she wants. She didn't hurt me. My life is no different today than it was the day before I hurt her. There are 2 things that annoy me to no end. One is the black preacher I saw on TV this morning who told us that she has no idea how much harm she's done the black community, but didn't bother to tell us what that harm was, because I sure as heck can't figure out what harm she's done to anybody. And number 2, the parents. I mean, the parents bust their kid on TV. Okay, I don't know why you want to do that. Usually family disagreements are best left off television, unless you're doing a reality show. And then after she actually resigns and she's been upended and you would think that they'd accomplish what they set out to do, they go on Megyn Kelly last night after it was all done. So, folks, you've had your 15 minutes. You're not entitled to any of it. We don't care about you. You're just a laughing point for most of America. Do yourself a favor and go away.
Before you respond, let me get Brad in real quick. I was all happy with myself before the show, and I shared it with you 5 seconds beforehand. I said they could have a reality show and call it "White is the New Black." then Rick broke it to me that somebody said that on Twitter already.
It's okay. They haven't produced the show, and I might watch it. Though I basically agree with the 2 of you. Let's get above this one story. Something is going on that's interesting to me. The same people who last week were supporting transsexual Caitlyn Jenner are often the people who are most angry at transracial Rachel Dolezal. And the story in that, I think, is that actually in both cases, because it's completely inconsistent, it's a race to see who can be the biggest victim. And it turns out if gender identity can be made fluid, and racial identity can be made absolutely fixed, you have the biggest category of people who can claim victimization. And the real story, I think, here is that people will be inconsistent if what they're really motivated by is not liberating transsexuals or worried about racial issues, many of which she cooked up professionally for years, but actually trying to figure out how to wear the biggest mantle of victimhood to accomplish whatever it is they want. And that's a larger problem for all of us.
By the way, just to be fair to you, the actual joke that I heard yesterday, because she apparently treats her skin in a way that makes it kind of orange a la John Boehner, the joke was that she was, in fact, the orange is the new black.
Ah, okay.
That's good too.
So white is the new black.
It's still available to you.
Still available.
Interesting.
I think a lot of people do care. I mean, this is the problem,
But
and this
should
is.
they?
But Rick, race is such an issue in our society, and it starts these conversations. And I think the conversations are good ones. And I think in many ways, if people want to relate to different races, I think that that's totally appropriate. The hypocrisy of this lady, the hypocrisy, I think, is the problem. When you put yourself out there, like for example, that movie Exodus, they hired some people who were white to play people who should have been playing black people, and she called for a boycott of that movie. And yet here she is doing exactly what that is.
You're right, but there are hypocrites all around us all day long, and none of them are on television. And she shouldn't be either.
Because we know how sensitive race is. I think Heather's completely right. And what happens is when you can't talk about important issues smart, you talk about them stupid, and this, not us, her, is talking about them stupid.
And except that they say she was a very effective president of the NAACP. So
and she's
I mean, her heart's in the right place, her brain isn't.
But her brain did a good job for them.
What's the end game? I want to know.
She goes away.
Does she go away? I'm semi-serious about the reality
I think this
show.
has legs.
I don't think she goes.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think she wants to go away. Some of her statements talks about, well, now we're starting this conversation that we have to have. I think that she truly believes in what she's saying. I think she truly believes.
This is the beginning, not the end.
I'm
with Heather.
Yeah.
If you put her on that Jenner show that's coming on E, now you got. I mean, we talked ratings before. The TVs will literally explode across the country.
We'll call it Dueling Victims. We can play the music from Deliverance.
Oh, that's very Deliverance. Except that scene with Ned Beatty. Anyway, coming up next, the Pope speaks out about climate change. We'll tell you what he had to say. Stay tuned. And welcome back to The Wrap. Well, Pope Francis is wading deep into the climate change debate. In a leaked letter to bishops, the Pope calls for a worldwide effort to fight climate change. And we quote, numerous scientific studies indicate that the greater part of the global warming in recent decades is due to the great concentration of greenhouse gases given off above all because of human activity. The Pope says man is causing climate change. Interesting. What does his powerful voice do for the debate? Is President Obama going to say, see, the Pope agrees with me, Heather Hansen?
Well, without a doubt, he'll bring it up, without a doubt. But I agree with some, and I think we're going to hear from Jeb Bush, who says this. Many of us don't look to the Pope for scientific or economic guidance. We look to the Pope for religious guidance, those of us who look to him for that. So I don't think that for many it's going to make a lot of difference. But it does give those that are arguing for climate change issues a little bit more ammunition, I guess.
Let me rephrase the question to you, not see what Pope Francis said.
Right.
Can President Obama say, see what Pope Frankie said?
Oh, Frankie.
Frankie, yeah.
Here's what I find fascinating about this that nobody's talking about. Unlike Democrats, Republicans, whatever, the Pope has no political axe to grind here that I can imagine. Whether he was, whatever he came down on. Now, what I'm anxious to see, and it comes out on Thursday, is what research he's relying on, what research was done. Because if there's anybody who you would anticipate would be objective, you would think it would be the Pope. That doesn't mean that his analysis is right or not, but I can't wait to see it because this may give us a glimpse of some more objective research, which is all I've ever wanted. I've never said I believe it, I don't believe it. All I want is non-tainted science by politics. Right. And I think we probably have our best chance of getting that from Pope Frankie.
Interesting. You think Bill Nye the Science Guy is in his ear? Could it be a joke? Well, it's not Joe Bastardi, I know that.
Given his hostility to religion, I'm not sure what he's doing or not doing with the Pope. And I think, for the record, the Vatican typically has very high-level scientists.
You would think.
They do, but we should be clear. It's not apolitical. And I am a fan of this Pope, but he is far from apolitical.
What's
You're right.
in it for him?
What's in it for him is a global political economic vision that he does have. It's bigger than Democratic or Republican. In fact, the pieces of the encyclical that I was able to already access take a very strident anti-commerce position, a strident anti-banking position, and overall what troubles me, and I say this as a fan of this Pope, intellectually and spiritually, to come out swinging with apocalyptic language that talks about unprecedented destruction, widespread crop failure, economic ruin, I think he's
Unless
missed the boat
true.
here. No, but it can't be true to predict the end of the world that way. And the track record of religious leaders...
Now, are you exaggerating? Did he say the end of the world? I don't think
Unprecedented
so.
destruction, widespread crop failure, economic ruin. I think Bill Murray in Ghostbusters called it things of biblical proportion.
Dogs and cats living together.
There you go.
Mass
You got it.
hysteria.
Yeah, so
I think
here's
you gotta
what I would have
you
liked.
got to be careful.
So here's what I would have
and,
liked.
and not
Let him come out with
overinterpret.
moral authority about responsible use of nature. There are ways to get at this as a religious leader, because as a religious leader, I defend his right to speak on politics and the economy. Those are spiritual issues for many people who are religious, not just Catholics. I'm Jewish. I think they're religious issues, but not in a polarizing way, not in an apocalyptic way. That's just fancy language for end of the world stuff.
Unless he thinks he's got science that says he's right.
Even if he does.
Wouldn't you want him to if he had the science that said this was
I don't
happening?
want a person of that authority harnessing any science. By definition, science always replaces other science to go apocalyptic on us. I'd want him to speak with moral authority, but not this end of the world stuff, which will only polarize the debate
Even
forever.
if he had evidence to that point, you would like him to sit on that evidence and
No,
not say it.
I'd
Well,
like
that's
him
what
to
you
say
just
it's
said.
evidence, not proof, and that's the difference.
Well, did he
Share
say
the
proof?
evidence, the apocalypticism, the positioning
And you're
of
basing
certainty.
this on how many paragraphs have you got your
fair
hands
amount.
on?
A fair
Because
amount.
nobody else
I thought the
has.
world was supposed to just
some of
swallow
it's
us all
out.
up.
Some of it's
Wasn't
out.
that what was supposed to happen?
Right, and that's
Earth
my-
opens
and
up,
that's
I
my
go in,
concern.
that's the end. Well, I don't go, but Heather goes.
But yeah,
The evil one.
In what you've read, because I've read parts of it too, they don't give any scientific evidence yet, Rick. So I agree. I think I agree
That's
with
what
you.
we have to see.
I think that if it's there, then someone has to talk about it.
Let's hear what Jeb Bush had to say about this. On the first day in the 2016 campaign trail, he clashed with the Pope on climate change. Bush, who says he converted to Catholicism 25 years ago, responded to the Pope's stance, saying, I hope I'm not going to get castigated for saying this by my priest back home, but I don't get economic policy from my bishops or my cardinals or my Pope. I think religion ought to be about making us better as people and less about things that end up getting in the political realm.
So if the Pope has good science, and I don't know that he does, then Jeb's just going to ignore it because that's not what he should be getting from him?
I think it goes back to your original point that you don't get advice on these things from the Pope or from his
Unless
advisors.
it's somebody who runs a place called the Vatican, who Brad tells us has top-notch science.
I think it's a little bit hard and
I'm shocked they
fast.
have good scientists. I didn't know they were known for that.
They absolutely are.
Really?
Remember, the
I don't
word
think
science, scientere, to know, from the Latin, was a sacred act. And in fact, the Church preserved science when other parts of Europe in the Middle Ages were killing it off. I wouldn't just make such a hard line between science and religion. Just tone down the rhetoric, learn what we can from the best science, and then use that moral authority to make things better wherever you come down on the politics.
Heather, last word, 5
If
seconds.
the science is there, I think that it changes the conversation, but I'm not sure it's there.
Okay, well, coming up next, the Obamas threw a dinner party over the weekend that's causing quite a stir in the press. Were you invited? Stay tuned. And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Before we get going here, we want to hear your thoughts on the issues we're talking about tonight. Go to newsmax.com/comments. Let us know. We may read one or two on the air. Okay, over the weekend, the Obamas held a private party at the White House with about 500 celebrity guests. They were from politics, sports, business, entertainment, all those worlds, including a concert by Prince and Stevie Wonder. Here's Rick getting out of his limo. Well, we cut it off there to protect the innocent. That cannot be a recent picture of Prince. All right, that looks more like it. Yeah, no question about it. And there's Stevie Wonder, who never seems to age. Kind of still has that same thing going on. And we love Stevie. What's more shocking than the fact that this whole thing was pulled off without any press leaks is the fact that the Obamas are apparently footing the bill. And it's very hefty. You got to figure, Prince, Stevie Wonder, this isn't some garage band.
They played for free.
You think they played for free?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't have played for free.
They're not you.
That's true. Time is money, my friend. I can't play anyway.
You're a bigger star.
Well, you have a point there. Many reporters and even the public are upset that this was all kept under wraps. John Bon Jovi. Let's see if we can name some other people. I don't know who that. Oh, that's Russell Wilson
Russell
from
Wilson.
the Seattle Seahawks. The glasses threw me off. Do we have any others?
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry. Yeah, didn't know. Okay, the glasses. What's everyone's going to the cerebral thing?
Susan Rice.
Susan Rice. Is Jerry Rice there? Ray Rice? Donna Rice? You get me Donna Rice there, and I say it's a party. We got anybody else, or are we just going to zoom in on her? Okay, I guess we don't. Okay, so there were rumors last week that Prince was seen around the White House, but when asked about it, Press Secretary Josh Earnest said that he had no details about the president's weekend schedule because, you know, he's not the press secretary or anything. Earnest was asked about the event again on Monday after tweets surfaced online from party guests, including Al Sharpton, but he played it off as though the Obamas were just a typical married couple who had a few friends over for dinner.
I think, Ron, the point is that the President and First Lady, and I think most people across the country would acknowledge that this is an appropriate thing for the President and First Lady to do, which is to open up their house to guests and to host a private party on a Saturday night. Again, Ron, I think the fact that we're talking about a private event paid for by the President and First Lady that occurred in their own home on a Saturday night, I think most people would recognize that, understandably, as a private event.
Okay,
He's right.
Hirschfield, is this blown out of proportion?
It's hugely blown out of proportion. I get that people are annoyed, but they clarify they did pay for it. I think the White House would do a much better job. Show us the bill.
Why keep it secret?
Because I'll tell you why. There is a notion of executive privacy. And that's separate from executive privilege. The fact that he's the president and the fact that he has this status doesn't mean he surrenders his entire private life to the press. I think that's actually unfair. I think they handled it badly. But
I can't believe you just drew a comparison between executive privacy and executive privilege.
Nope.
Guess what? You and I have the same executive privacy as the president. Come on, guys, let's not be. Why are we?
You don't have Prince playing. Well, you probably do have.
He had a party. He's allowed to have a party.
In our White House.
You know what? I rent the space. I don't own my house either. I rent it, and I'm allowed to have a party there.
You rent your
He
house?
doesn't rent it. He's not paying a dime.
Yeah,
He's
smart.
there by at our
No,
pleasure.
it's part of his. It's part of his compensation.
That's right. But
That's
if you go back, I think
and
I'm
he's
hoping
allowed
that somebody
to have
has
a
it.
party. By the
In
way, there are
2000
other things. There are other things the president does in the White House. Are we entitled to know about everything
No,
he does?
when he starts bringing people into the White House, they came out in 2009 with a statement. I may be able to put up on the board. They specifically said opening up the People's House.
Yeah.
And it talked about,
Not
here we go.
24 hours a day.
Wow.
It talked about, for the first time in history, records of White House visitors will be made available to the public on an ongoing basis. We want to achieve our goal of making this administration the most open and transparent in history, but not when we invite 500 people, including the head of American Express, to our party.
You know what?
It
Even
is-
the most
it is
conservative Americans
completely-
aren't going to buy this. He's allowed to have a private party. What
But
do you
tell
want
us
from
who's
this
coming.
guy?
If you're
Why?
inviting 500 people to the White House, we have a right to know who it is.
Because
no, I think
why?
I'm not sure. That's when I said, you're laughing. It's a very serious thing. By the way, Renee Reyes at Harvard has written
Well,
extensively
no, I
about
was-
it.
I was
There
laughing
really is a
because
concept of executive privacy.
I don't think it extends to a party.
No, that's the point. It does. What it means is he does have the right to have a party.
Yeah.
Executive privilege means
has the right
that the president can withhold information related to policy. But separate and apart from that, he does have a right to have a private life unto himself. That's what the term means, and I think he exercised it.
I don't
I can't
agree
believe
with
we need
that.
a paper on that.
I'm just not sure it has to be in the White House. If you want to have a private party, go out and have one somewhere else. But if you're going to bring people into the White House after you've put up the statement, those were his words, saying it's going to be the most
You're
transparent.
just mad because you
And-
weren't invited.
Well, that's true, and and I know some people might have been invited that are going to make me mad.
Go ahead, say it. Say
I
it.
don't know.
Say
I don't know for sure. If we find out, I will bring it up again.
Here's my only beef-ish, okay? Of course, this isn't a serious topic. We got a lot of bigger fish to fry. But why keep it secret? Why not just say you're going to have the party, you're going to have Prince there and Stevie Wonder? No one would have cared. It's the whole, like, we got to find out after the fact because Al Sharpton tweeted about it.
No, I'll tell you why.
He didn't take their phones away. He didn't stop Al
And they were
Sharpton
tweeting
from
the
tweeting
thing.
about it.
Joe, I'll tell
he was
you why.
tweeting from the party.
Because every once in a while, the most public figures do have a right to say, I have a private life.
But have
That's
a private
why.
party. When you invite
That's why.
500 people,
And
you're
that's
starting.
The word's going to get out. I mean, it's just.
Right, and they're not fighting now that it's getting out. They just said we want to have a private party. Again, I don't think it's a big
And
deal.
no one's talking about the fact that
you have any party you want.
the
It's
Prince
okay
is
with
way
that.
past
I
his
didn't
prime,
say
and no
any
one's
party.
talking about that as well. All right, it's potluck time. Daily Wrap. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. Potluck time, part of the show. We go around the table, or the pool in this case, and share our favorite stories of the day. Brad Hirschfield, you are up.
Missed you.
Interesting. Interesting indeed. What are we talking about
Well,
tonight?
we would have been hearing some music from Jaws, but it might be in there. We're talking about Shark Night here at Newsmax. It's not Shark Week from that other network. But it's actually a serious story on two levels. At 4:15 p.m. this past Sunday, 13-year-old girl goes into the water at Oak Island Beach, North Carolina. Is attacked by a shark. Her arm is bitten off. She's being worked on the beach, and she's making a reasonable recovery. We should know, he's not making fun of this part. Within 90 minutes of her going into the water, a 16-year-old kid goes into the water too. What is he thinking? They're still working on this 13-year-old. He goes into the water, and guess what? His arm gets bitten off because apparently the shark was still hungry. He also lost a piece of his leg. So what in the world was he... What?
Do we know it was the same
shark?
shark?
Why are you doing that? They are theorizing it was the same shark. It was either one super hungry shark, two medium hungry sharks. The thing is kind of crazy. But to put this in context, because these shark stories always do get a lot of attention, think about some of the following, all right? Because there are 72 shark attacks every year.
Worldwide?
Here in the States.
Just here in the States.
And 3 people die. But understand the following. 450 people die every year getting out of bed.
Falling out of bed.
Falling out of bed.
You think it's a bunk bed situation where just if you get the top bunk, then you're falling out?
It's probably about sick people or older people falling, but still, it's 150 times more people dying getting out of bed, and we don't have Bed Week on that other network.
Yeah, good
right?
point.
Yeah,
Wait.
but why aren't you criticizing people for continuing to get in bed?
I'll explain to you why.
There's Bed Week on Skinamax, by the way. Let's make that very clear.
Okay, I don't want to know about that. Vending machines. 13 people a year, I can't say that's why I'm laughing. 13 people are killed annually with crush injuries from vending machines falling on them. Do you know how hard you have to work to get the free candy bar to get that machine to topple over on you?
So you think every time it's a matter of like you're trying to go for the Reese's and you're pulling because it doesn't come out and then you pull the whole vending machine on top of it?
I'm guessing.
Because I've done that.
Right. See, there you go.
Or shaking it.
And roller coasters kill 6 people every year. Okay,
What a
so
way
what's
to go.
going on here?
6 people die on roller coasters?
Yeah, they do. That's why I tell my kids to stay off of them.
Yeah.
Here's
But you
the
don't
thing.
tell them not to go to bed.
No,
and
I don't tell them
use
not to
vending
swim
machines.
either, and I'll tell you why. And it's why I think these stories get tremendous attention and why the kid went into the water and why they were both wrong. There are very few shark attacks. Millions of people go into the water every year. 3 people get killed, 72 get hurt. It's statistically unimportant. We tend to either worry too much or not enough. Most people spend time worrying too much about things that are never really going to happen or very unlikely. And then a small number of people walk through life thinking, me, I'm invincible, and do stupid stuff like this kid. The truth is always somewhere in the middle. You can be vigilant without being fearful. And if there's any takeaway from this story and that Sunday on the beach, I think that's it.
I have another takeaway. I'm putting one of those railings up on my bed now.
Well, I did say it's
that
an
might be
age
a good
thing, so
idea.
make of it what you will.
Yeah, I don't want to fall out and kill myself.
Yeah, thousands of people are killed every year from texting and driving, right?
Yeah.
But parents still allow them, okay, don't forget your phone. All right, text me when you get there.
That's
It's always
serious.
done the way over there. That's a serious thing.
That's serious.
Now, that said, though, I haven't gone in the ocean in quite some time. I'm going to the Jersey Shore this weekend. And
Because
I
you're
do the
afraid of a
pool thing
shark?
now. I just know my friggin' luck. And I'm the one who's going to get bit next.
We're
Right?
gonna-
The
we're
biggest
gonna
shark
send-
attacks ever have happened off the Jersey
I'll
coast
take
in
you
this country.
swimming.
We're
I'll
going to
prove
send
it.
our sound people with you so they can start the shark music after you've been bitten.
See, that would be
No,
very
you want it
cool.
before. If you hear the music, get out of the water. Short of that, enjoy the beach.
Running.
Interesting. Okay, I mean, you do the Jersey Shore as well. Do you
I
go in the water?
swim, I paddleboard.
Do you?
I've seen dolphins that have scared me, and I thought that they were sharks. But
The
it's-
fin thing, right?
Yeah,
that
right.
gets to you.
It
Yeah,
definitely
but
gives you
Heather's
the
fearless.
moment.
She's shaking hands with Marilyn Mosby.
Oh, that's a very
Oh, yeah.
good point.
State's attorney
You worked
in
it in.
Baltimore.
Congratulations.
I have not.
Right, I was about to say. I think it'll be a closed fist situation. But anyway, it's my turn, and I want to talk about baseball and how it's lost its innocence. I mean, we've all seen Field of Dreams. We all romanticize about baseball and just a day at the ballpark, and it's still America's pastime. I know the ratings aren't there. The NBA Finals kill it, and NFL is just off the charts, and even the NHL is coming up there as far as ratings challenging the World Series and baseball in general. But you know, we talk about a lot how there's hacking going on all the time of government servers, the IRS, of your personal information, whatever. Now, I got to hear this. The St. Louis Cardinals are being investigated by the FBI for hacking the Houston Astros server to get information. Now, here's what I want to know. What are they trying to get exactly? No one's keeping signs on there. Maybe scouting reports? But this is serious. The FBI is actually investigating the St. Louis Cardinals, and it just shows you that nothing is safe anymore between Spygate with the Patriots and now this.
Somebody's watched Moneyball one time too many.
Yeah, maybe. But I guess that's it, right? Maybe you're just trying to get reports.
They're going to get all that information.
Trade information.
I know what they were going after. There's a lot of information on that computer.
I guess so, yeah. Maybe incentives and contracts. Salaries,
it's big
right?
business.
Yeah, that's true. But boy, I mean, a little piece of me was torn out. Little League Joe just
recover the love. It's still baseball.
Anyway, yay or nay is next. This is the Daily Wrap. And welcome back to Daily Wraps. Happy time for yay or nay. First up, Hillary Clinton will not be releasing her health records. This announcement comes after Face the Nation host Josh Dickerson just came on, actually his name is John, mentioned the former Secretary of State's health scare when she suffered from a blood clot in her brain during her time in office. Experts say the clot could have been life-threatening, and Clinton herself has said it took her about 6 months of hard work to get over it. So, everybody, should she have to release her health records, yay or nay?
Absolutely, and she will. She'll have to.
Okay.
Everybody runs for president does.
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't they all have to? I think that they should, and I think that they do.
Nothing to hide here.
No,
right?
100%. She should, not because of that event, because it's standard operating procedure, and the public has a right to access for all of them.
And if she doesn't, we will all assume that she has something.
We'll assume the worst. Yeah.
Right. That only leads to the worst possible thought, right? That the clot's bad, or she is, going to be 69 if she were to take office at that time. So,
that means we get Trumps too.
Oh, right.
No,
Trump is 69. I didn't know that. I thought he was a little bit younger, but it's no longer orange. The hair is now
orange hair.
grayish. Yes.
Do you think he got? I'm sure he got his family's permission to run. You think he got his hair's permission to run for president?
We reached out for comment. We have not heard back.
You haven't heard back from Hair?
No, no. Hair is still
thinking about it.
We will on the whole thing. Republican Assembly, and his name's Scott Welk. He voted in favor of a revised budget plan in Sacramento. Raised a few eyebrows on Monday because none of the other Republicans voted the same way. Must have been a mistake, right? Well, the Assemblyman took a local news station, or told one, excuse me, and even admitted on Twitter that he did, in fact, vote in error because, get this, he was on the Facebook at the time of the vote. Quote, "My wife is right, I can't multitask. Accidentally voted for a budget while Facebooking against AB 93, the perils of social media." Wilk was able to change his vote. Should social media be banned when politicians are voting, yay or nay, Unger?
Well, it's not about Facebook, it's about Republicans. And it's worse, they should be banned. And it's worse than the question led on, because it wasn't just this year that no Republican voted for the budget. No California Republican has voted in favor of a budget. I lived there for 27 years. I can't remember the last time that any Republican voted for it because it's so stacked for the Democrats.
And
so
the segment's been hijacked.
Replace the Republican, not the Facebook.
Fascinating.
I think everyone who's doing their job should be focusing on their job. Men especially are known to not be as good at multitasking as women are, so all of the men should put down the Facebook and the Twitter and focus on what it is you're doing.
That's true. You're knitting right now with your toes. I saw it. Very talented. What do you got?
I just love that Rick couldn't say with a straight face, so we know what that's worth. And actually, neurologists who I've talked to say there's no such thing as multitasking. There's serial monotasking. You're flipping back and forth between multiple things. Proving it right now. There we go.
That's a lot like executive privilege versus
I'm full of all kinds of nuance. I know. All or nothing, all Republicans, no Republicans, you like that better. I think what they have to really do is learn to be focused on the task at hand. If Facebook helps you with that, do it. If not, stop it.
Okay. Finally tonight, hey, we just said his age. 69-year-old Donald Trump has been in the spotlight for a long time, as you know, going all the way back to New Jersey Generals, 1984. He's amassed a fortune of nearly $9 billion, according to a financial disclosure form he released today. He even had his own board game.
Everything's set for tonight, Mr. Trump. I wonder what Trump's game is this time.
Trump's got a new game. Trump's got a new deal.
What's your game, Donald?
Trump has a new game. What is it?
Is it an airline? A new convention center? Mr. Trump. Is it a convention center? Mr. Trump, please.
My new game is Trump, the game.
Trump, the game where you deal for everything you've ever wanted to own. Because it's not whether you win or lose. It's whether you win.
Yes!
Tremendous. He also had an appearance in WrestleMania 23, where he laid the smackdown on WWE chief Vince McMahon.
Donald Trump is in a world he is not familiar with. This is not real estate.
This is the WWE. Donald Trump may have to get his hands dirty himself. He may have to throw a set and get involved here. Hey, look at this! Donald Trump! Donald Trump! Donald Trump taking down Vince McMahon! Oh my God! The hostile takeover of Donald Trump on Vince McMahon.
Okay, is there anyone else who can compete with that resume, Rick?
I don't know. Anybody else got as many bankruptcies as he does?
Or divorces, for that matter?
He's an interesting character. I don't know.
No.
Okay, and we ended on that note. Newsmax Prime with J.D. Hayworth. That's next.